to All About the Joy, the Private Lounge. Rick Costa's in the house, and welcome back, Just Cynthia.
I just saw that.
I know she did that last time though, because I kept saying her name. I kept messing with her last two names, like being ridiculous. So now it's Just Cynthia. I think you should get that as a website, but that's just me. So, I wanted to have a conversation just about, and I know it's not everyone's favorite topic, but I think it's important. Let me tell you what happened this week. So all of you know that I am now moving on from the workload that I've had with all these clients, primarily because of the fires, but also it's just time. And so one person took me out to lunch the other day and said, you're not even freaking out. Why are you not stressed out? Like, what, did you win the lottery or something? And I was like, yeah, I won the lottery and I'm sitting here having lunch with you, hoping that you'll pay. But I think what he was getting at was more about that it doesn't really affect me. Like, I'm not afraid, I'm not scared or whatever. And that's more about just experience that has, you know what I mean? Like, money comes, money goes. And you got to be able to deal with that, especially when you're kind of what I do, which is a freelancer. I have my own business. Like, sometimes I have so much work and then sometimes I don't have any. And so we're in that lull period right now. And so I started thinking about how people process dealing with money. And I wanted to start by asking, I'm going to start with Cynthia. So do you remember a time, Cynthia, when you felt you had enough money, that you had an abundance of money? Mm-hmm. When was that time and what did it feel like?
It was actually during COVID. Mm-hmm. I think it was because, we couldn't go anywhere. So we couldn't spend any money. I was bringing lunch rather than buying food, because again, you weren't sure who you can trust with your food. So I definitely was spending a lot less money during that time. So I think that was the time I had the most, to be honest.
Do you remember feeling, well, it's so weird that you said COVID, like most people were freaking out during COVID, but can I, and again, anything you guys don't want to share, you don't need to share at all. I'm just going to ask questions. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, why did you have enough money during COVID and everybody else was suffering? What were you doing, billionaire?
I wish. Honestly, like I said, I wasn't shopping. I wasn't doing anything. I'd go to work or I would stay home. And during that time, like, we would switch off every week. So like 1 week I'd work from home, so I wouldn't have to waste gas. I'd have my food here at home. And then another week I'd be in the office and again, bring my lunch, and I was driving less, using less gas, wasting less money. So my whole paycheck was just basically going into my savings.
So going into your savings. Okay, it's so funny. I love you with all my heart, right? But everyone always tries to act as if I'm bougie and I have like all this money. I'm the one who's living like paycheck to paycheck. Cynthia's like, and I was just putting money into my 401k and my savings and investing in the video, like in the stock market now. Okay, cool. So you felt really good and you felt very comfortable during COVID, which I have to say, I don't know anybody except you, unless Rick is going to tell me it was during COVID. I'm going to lose my mind. When did you remember a time when you had more than enough?
The only time I felt like I never had a lot, ever. But the only time I felt like I was slightly living large was when I was very young still, living with my parents. I had a job, no bills. There was no such thing as cell phones back then. Right. So I had money to spend. I got the most expensive TV, I got the most expensive VCR, and like, I was like, yeah, I got the money, whatever. And, no concept of saving money. So yeah, that's the only time I really felt like, you can buy whatever you want. But now, no.
It's so weird because we don't really appreciate when we were younger, unless we look back on it. But when you're young and you don't have all those bills and you're just trying to figure out if you can get money to go hang out and go to the club, and will I have enough money, and I have to ask so and so and blah blah blah, and that's like your big priority. You don't even understand what it's like to have to actually deal with, I have to pay my utility bill or my cell phone bill, or I won't have it if I don't pay it. Well, I wrote my first book, and that moment was a moment when I realized I had way more money than my mother ever had in her entire life. And I have no problem telling people. So at that time I was a partner at a company that had started out with like 7 people, and we grew really, really big. And I was part of that whole process. I became a partner, and I was getting a K1. And for people who don't know what a K1 is, it's basically a bonus structure. You get a percentage of the companies. And I had flown in from New York. I'll never forget this. Came to my condo. I had a $650,000 condo. Cynthia, did you ever come to my condo in Brentwood? Shame. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was very beautiful. But I had this condo, and the thing that was amazing about it was, and I like, if there was ever a time you would say I was a minimalist, it was then, because I had so much space and no furniture, and that's how I liked it. But I had this amazing patio that ran the entire length of the condo. Like one whole side was just all kind of glass and beautiful windows and those old shutters, and it overlooked the pool. And I definitely had the best condo out of the apartment complex, or whatever, the condo complex. And I say all this to give you a picture. And I came home from New York. I put my bags aside, and all my mail had been laid out for me by my assistants back then. So this is what I'm saying, okay? And I had been working in New York and had come home, and I was going through my mail, and my K1 check was there. So that was on top of my salary at the time, which was like $150,000 was like my salary. And then my K1 check was like another 120 something thousand dollars, right? Because that's how it works. And I remember sitting on that, I had like a lounge chair, and I had all these beautiful flowers. I had somebody come to do the flowers and water them. So it was beautiful. And you can ask Beata and Andrea, because they came to the condo. Yeah. And I sat there and I cried. And it was a mixture of complete and utter sadness and an uncomfortableness, because I realized in that moment that I had made more money in 1 year than my mother had made her entire life, probably, And that's when I started writing the book, because I started to realize I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for all of these people. And so I started writing the letters, and that's how the book Canela came to be, was that moment.
Did you also think, I wish my mom could see me now?
No.
Okay.
Because, and this is, I say that for a lot of reasons. Number one, I don't really remember my mom. I don't. And then the other part of it too is just because I had an abundance of money doesn't mean I was happy, because I wasn't. I was miserable.
Say that for the people in the back.
Let me say it again. Yeah. But I was working ridiculous amount of hours. I was traveling back and forth to New York. I really wasn't spending that much time with friends, or, you know what I mean? Like I was overwhelmed, and I was doing something I hate to do. I was managing offices and doing all of this money stuff, and I wasn't happy. So no, I would have never wanted I think that's what the problem was. On the one hand, I had enough money and abundance of money. On the other hand, and I was sitting in this beautiful condo that, by the way, I never wanted, but I bought it because back then, before the crash came, right? Because in 2008, 2009, we had the financial collapse, and I lost my condo, couldn't get work like everyone else. So money is fleeting. It's very fleeting. It comes and it goes. But
why did you want it? The apartment? Or you didn't want it, you said?
I did not want to go. So back then you were told, thank you for reminding me. Back then you were always told you have to invest in property. That was the big thing. They don't do that now. Nobody pressures you now. But when I met with my business manager, I had a business manager back then. They were like, Carmen, you can't keep giving money away. You can't, like, I would buy, books for a classroom, or I would just, and you can't write that stuff off. And I actually was like, yeah, I don't care. It's fine. They're like, no, but it'd be better. You got to invest. And so I bought this condo. It was a beautiful condo, but I never wanted to own anything because it's just not my thing. It's not my thing. It's not that I wouldn't own anything in the future, but like my car,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna keep it because I love it. But I was just like being forced to do something that I didn't want to do. So, but that's why I want to talk about this, because even in that moment, and I was so kind of glad but sad, and that's why I started writing my book. I wasn't that happy. I wasn't full of positive feelings, except that I could easily pay my bills and help other people, And then the financial collapse happened and I lost everything like everyone else did.
Did you have to sell it at a loss or no?
I'm sorry?
Did you have to sell it at a loss or no?
Oh, I totally sold it at a loss, and I don't mind sharing with people because I think people have to know that. I had to short sale it, and then I didn't even have any work. There was no way, and a lot of people had to go through this. So I don't mind sharing that information because I think people need to understand how things happen. And are you a good person when things go bad? Who are you when things are really hard? It also matters who are you when things are great.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an abundance of money. So when did you guys realize you were rich or poor when you were young? I don't want to make any assumptions. Like, do you remember? I don't want to make any assumptions about anyone in the room.
I am not rich at all.
No, Cynthia, you're not rich. No, you're not rich, but you are
Comfortable?
You're not going to, she's what?
Comfortable?
Okay, I'm going to say, I don't know if it's comfortable. Because you could be much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You could be much more comfortable.
Yeah.
But Cynthia doesn't spend money. Like, I will spend $1,000 on a pair of shoes and be okay with it. Right? Cynthia could want those same pair of shoes, and it ain't going to happen for no dollars.
No. I will buy the knockoffs.
Okay, but and I would rather not have the shoes and go without than buy the knockoffs. Yeah, that's where we're different. Right? I remember we had a conversation about bras. Do you remember the conversation we had about bras? Right? Okay, wait. No, this is a great, Rick, I
actually bought a couple of the ones that you suggested.
Okay, let me just tell people first. Here's the thing. So I am not cheap when it comes to two types of clothing. Shoes, really important to me, protect my feet, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Okay, whether it's sneakers, it don't matter. I'm not going to go cheap on those. And bras. The girls will always be taken care of. And I spend a lot of money on my bras. And I also wash them by hand. Like Cynthia's like, I don't want to be bothered.
I throw mine in the washing machine.
Right. We had a conversation about bras, and she was like, oh, hell no, I'm not spending that kind of money on bras. But you did. You bought the bras I told you to try them?
Yeah. I do like them.
And you're feeling?
I do like them. They are comfortable.
But do you see the support is very different?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just saying sometimes there are things you get what you pay for,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think shoes for me is more about, there are some shoes you don't have to spend that kind of money on, but running sneakers, you have to, if you're going to be running, spend money on. I can't really talk about my Jimmy Choos or my Poochies or any of those other shoes. But I will say this, when you buy a pair of heels that are really well made, you can actually walk in them.
Yeah.
Right? But are you walking around in stilettos every day? Even in the days when I was wearing them all the time, I wasn't. You know what I mean? So, but here's where Cynthia and I are the same. I'm not going to go spend money I don't have. Like, I'm not going to be like, you know what? I'll figure out the rent later.
Right. Yeah. No.
On that, we are exactly the same, But Rick, what about you? What about you?
What's the question again? Sorry.
Well, when did you realize that you were poor or rich? Don't want to make any assumptions. Maybe your family was very wealthy when you were little and you lost it all in some crazy, market crash or something. When did you know as a kid? Do you remember?
I mean, I think we always felt middle class, always.
Mhm.
The only time I felt like, oh, maybe we're a little okay was because we lived in a 3-family house and we had tenants. So I was like, oh, well, we got
Oh,
tenants. That's some money coming in. So I was like, I never felt like we were rich, still middle class. But yeah, never felt neither rich nor poor, just always
right.
middle.
You know what's so funny? I used to think that you being a landlord, he'd be rich in our neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Right, Cynthia? We'd be like, he rich. Like if you had a car, I thought you were rich.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Like, remember, I think it was not. I think it was the Martins. They had a pool. They were
Oh, yeah.
rich, rich.
Anybody who had a pool was rich, rich.
If you had a pool, it
Doesn't
wasn't
matter
even like
whether
an
above
indoor
ground or
pool.
in ground. You were rich.
It doesn't matter. Rich. Like, it was a beautiful pool, but it was just funny.
It could
Like
have
they had
been
a
a
deck
blow
and
up
everything.
pool and you still rich.
Doesn't matter. Rich. Because if people were like, if you want to come to the house to have, come, we're having a pool party, be like, a pool party? Like in the city? What?
Right.
It'd be like so cool.
Yeah,
Rich.
like
You're rich.
I never felt like we were poor. I mean, we like my mom always made sure we had what we needed. You know what I mean? Like we never went without. So I think probably like middle class, like Rick said. Never poor, never rich. We just had fun.
Uh, yeah, I was poor, so we good. I mean, I had what I needed, but I didn't have what I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, and I think there's a difference. And I think the definition for me of poor is also like, and I say this respectfully, but we would go and get like, I remember we'd wait in line and get cheese and like
Food
milk
stamps
products or
and
whatever.
yep.
Yeah. We didn't have food stamps, but we had the free stuff that you would go to the school and I would get free milk in school. So the reason why I know is because in my neighborhood, and again, I don't want to say much younger than me, but it's different generations, different generations. I think it's one of the reasons why my mom passed away so young, actually. I don't have any evidence for this, but because she wouldn't ask for help, the pride bullshittery, that whole, I think that's why she didn't get the help she needed. She didn't get the medical help she needed. But like there was some weird pride about not getting food stamps in the neighborhood because people would sell food stamps, right? So I don't know if people understand what that means, but like if you have food stamps, you can only buy certain kinds of food on them. They have to be certain foods like milk or whatever, but you can't buy, I don't know, candy, or you can't buy diapers, or you can't buy other things with, at least back then. I don't know what happens now. I don't know what happens now, but back then you couldn't. What?
So funny because I literally just saw a video yesterday of these people that they call it SNAP, I guess, right? That's the food
Snap.
stamp.
I think it's called SNAP benefits now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these people were bragging. They were like at a Costco type place, those big
Mhm.
warehouse stores, filling up the cart. And then at the end, they're like, see how much I saved? It was like $600. Like she did pay it because it's all on that SNAP card. I'm like, but why would you brag about that? It's kind of weird to me.
Well, I mean, I think this is an interesting part of this conversation. I don't know if it's so much, I mean, I don't know the video you're talking about, and I understand the sentiment, but let me just finish one part about selling food stamps and then remind me if I forget. So what people would do is they would sell their food stamps so they could get cash, right? And then they would turn around and be able to buy the things that they wanted to buy. So you know what I mean? So there would be this weird exchange that would happen.
That's what made me remember that because they were saying that they'll say, I'll give you $200 for $300 of your food stamps because they can't use that money for liquor or something that
Right.
they want.
Right.
So they would do it because it's the only way they could get it.
Right.
That's what made me remember that in the first place.
Right.
But yeah.
So here's the thing that we need to remember. And again, I don't know the video you're talking about, but there is this weird stigma about people who need help and get help because all we hear about are the people who turn around and maybe abuse it or do things like this, okay? But the fact of the matter is, like everything else on the planet, there are other people like my mother who I don't have evidence of this, but because of that behavior or people have a perception, did not get the health care, the help she needed in order to survive. So a 12-year-old kid and other children were left. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a price to pay. And this was a woman who worked every single day of her life and worked hard work. And before I hear anything in the comments or emails, she was a fucking citizen. She was. And it doesn't matter.
Don't
God
come.
damn it.
Don't come for me, Ice.
It's ridiculous, people. Anyways, but this is actually an important conversation because I want to do something. I want us to start thinking about money very, very differently. I mean all of us. When people are on any kind of benefits or asking for help, if you are a good and decent person, you should help people. You should help people and not then turn around and say to them, but you can only spend it on this, this, and this. When you do that, you create the environment for people to live in lack. If you say to me, Rick, can you help me with $500? And I say, yes, but you can only use it to buy these things. How does that make you feel? Like, you're going to be like, why did I friggin' ask to begin with? I already felt humiliated to ask at first. And now you're telling me I can only do so much with it. And I need diapers for my kid. I need cream for my body. I'd like to have a cup of coffee in the morning, but I can't buy. You see what I mean? We restrict people, and people need that stuff anyways. So now what are they going to do? When you are desperate, when you need something, when you are living in a situation of lack, you're going to find a way to get that stuff. And I think we need to stop, in this country especially, but all over the world, this idea that money is definitive of who you are as a human being. I say this because I say it all the time. I have worked for the wealthiest of people in the last 30 years for sure. And not one of those people are better than any of the poorest people I have ever known, associated with, worked with, been around, grew up with at all.
Or happier.
Well, definitely not happier.
Yeah.
Definitely not happier. But yeah, you know, it's just factual to me that we need to stop putting that stigma on people about being poor. When were you deeply anxious about money? Right now. I am anxious right now. No, go ahead.
So the first time was when we were planning our wedding.
Really?
Yeah. Because at that time, I had so much debt and we were planning our wedding. So my anxiety was like through the roof, to the point like I would be sitting on my bed crying, like freaking out, and was like, calm down, like we'll figure it out, like don't worry.
We're doing a piece. Forget this crap.
Right. So yeah, that was the first time. And I think, you know, any time we're thinking about buying a house, because we do want to buy a house, that too is also like can bring up sometimes anxiety, because it's like the market's not great, or, you know, we don't make enough, or, you know, there's always something.
You still want to buy a house?
I do.
Yeah, I've owned property. I never want to own it again. I at least not alone. I don't. And that's a whole other, I guess, private lounge. But I never will buy a piece of property by myself ever again, unless I have like I do win the lottery. Because it's just too much work.
Would you purchase another property at that same amount, or would it be less? Was that the issue?
Well, oh, no. Well, see, you weren't at my condo, so you don't know. I had 2 floods. So I lived there for 4 years, and I had 2 floods because somebody's thing broke above me or whatever. Their water heater broke above me and it flooded the entire place. And then I had another flood because we had a rainstorm and it came through whatever. And it was fine because, I had the money to deal with it. But you have to have all these workers and all these people and somebody has to call them and manage them. And I was just like, oh my God. And here's the thing. I was going to buy, this is the irony of ironies. So I used to work for this woman who was old oil money. We became friends. I've talked about her in the past. But we, after I had worked at this company, we would go out sometimes for lunch. And sometimes she would invite me to some of these events. And I would go to these kind of private home art collection places. And I wanted to buy this $10,000 painting that at the time I couldn't afford it, but I was like, oh my God, I want it for over the mantle. It'll bring the whole thing together. Because I had really no furniture. So it really was kind of this really kind of beautiful piece. And long story short, she was like, you are not buying that piece. She was like, you're not. And I was like, but why? She's like, you need to live in a place for a year before you buy or redecorate at all. No, she was adamant. I was like, no, but I know this. She's like, absolutely not. I was like, you ain't my mother.
I need it for the feng shui.
But I was like, you ain't my mother. I mean, she was funny, but I was like, okay, because I was just like, okay, well, it's not like I have 10,000, like no big deal. But you know what I mean? Like it was like, it's not like her kind of money. To me, it would have been a really big investment. The flood came down through that wall and it would have destroyed the entire thing. And I remember thinking like, you know what?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll never forget that. Yeah. So I have no interest, but I live where I live. So the answer is I'd probably it depends. I mean, and I'm going to do it with somebody. So if they're like a very rich surgeon or something, sky's the limit, boo. No, I would, for me, I just need I would like a 2-bedroom and I want to be, I'm 2 blocks from the beach, but I want to be facing the beach. I'm not facing the beach right now. And I'd like to wake up in the morning, go out on my
balcony.
I don't know, balcony or veranda, whatever the hell it's called, and have a cup of coffee. I'd like that. That would be a dream come true. And as much as I'm kidding around about a man, I really don't want the man in my house. I just want his money and his ability to fix things.
Maybe a nice plastic surgeon.
Need a nice old plastic surgeon, right? It's like dying or something. What? Why are you making fun of this?
I'm not making fun.
This isn't I would never get plastic surgery.
No.
Botox.
Botox.
No, oh my God. No, I was joking.
Now I'm self-conscious. Can you see it?
No.
You're self-conscious. Hello, I'm peeling.
But Rick, what else were we talking about? It's all your fault. We got off topic.
We got derailed.
Yeah, talking about my hot surgeon who's
we were talking about people that, need help and how your mom was maybe too proud.
Yeah, but we were talking about when did you realize you were poor or rich? You always knew that you were middle class.
Yeah.
What was the time you were anxious about money? And I said, right now.
Me too. Right now. Some people live paycheck to paycheck. I'm living credit card to credit card.
I know. Cynthia's like, hee. That's when you know the rich people are in the room. Just kidding.
I know. She's like, I put everything in my savings account. I'm like, what's the savings account?
Okay, seriously, do you have a good memory of money? A time when money, I wrote about it in my book when my mother bought me my boots. I think that will always be something that I associate with a moment where I knew we didn't have it. I was too young. I didn't really understand, but I knew she didn't have it, but that money got me a really cool present.
Yeah.
And there was love in that, Yeah.
Oh, you should already know mine.
I should know yours?
When my mom took us to Disney. My first trip.
Really? Okay, that's cool. But did you knew at that time that you guys were that was a big deal?
It was a big deal, yeah. So she used to have this sock in my drawer, in my dresser, No one else knew about it, just me. And every so often she would put money in there and she would tell me, don't tell anybody. She would just wrap it up. Never knew how much was in there. And then one day she's like, we're going to Disney. And she grabbed that money and that's what she paid for Disney.
But was it just you and her?
It was me, her, Audrey, and Sean. The four of us.
Not your other sister?
No.
Okay. That's funny. Rick, do you have one? Do you have a moment where you remember a good feeling that money made you happy?
Mine's going to be like a little bit of a reverse, because when I went to, I was in second grade and we went to Portugal. And talk about culture shock, because this was not the mainland. This was the Azores Islands, and they were still way behind technologically. So I was like, that made me feel like I was rich looking at how these people lived. I'm like, no cars.
Oh, okay.
Horses everywhere. And they had, some people had TVs, but it was like 1.5 channels. What's 1.5 channels? One channel's 24/7. The other channel's half a day, and that's it. Like, and I'm like, my little brain going, this is barbaric. Like,
I could never.
That made me feel like I was rich. I was like, hey, compared to these people.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, but I loved them as my family. So yeah, it was fun. We still had fun.
What does it mean to each of you to have an emotional attachment to money?
I don't think I really do.
No one thinks they do, by the way, but everyone does. Everyone does. I'll tell you why. I mean, I think it's an interesting thing. And I actually give Teresa credit for this, because when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was by myself. I didn't know anybody. I think I've mentioned this before. I did light housekeeping for free room and board for a gentleman, an older gentleman. His name was Mr. Nasha. May he rest in peace. But he was offering that for students in the area, whatever. And I wasn't a student, but he allowed me to stay there. And I remember one night, all I had in the room, in the little, like, there's an extra room off like the patio or whatever, and it was a mattress that I bought for myself. I had a TV that I bought, a small TV that I bought for myself, because priorities. You know what I mean? like priorities. Well, no, but I mean, I did. I bought a TV, and then I had my clothes or whatever. And I remember sitting there, and I had been cleaning the bathroom and the kitchen or whatever, and I went into my room and I was crying because I realized I had a bachelor's degree and I was still doing the same job my mother was doing. And I got really upset and I was crying, and I was having one of those, like, you know, when you cry and you can't breathe, you're like, you know what I mean? And I talked to Teresa the next day because I was so upset about it. Or maybe it was that night I called her and we had this whole conversation, and she said, and I give her credit for this, she said, you cannot have an emotional attachment to money. Money is not who you are. It doesn't matter if you have it or you don't have it. It will never define you. Never. And I was like, okay, but I'm still a housekeeper. I'm still like upset. But that stuck in me because
She still lives by that.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry?
She still lives by that saying.
Oh, no, of course. I mean, that's her whole ethos. I mean, I think that's the thing, is that money, in a lot of different ways, the way we dress, the way we, where we eat, what we buy, what we do, does define us. So it's hard for it not to become part of our emotional ethos. But you have to fight against it. You really have to push that aside. Because I'm telling you, you become a much more settled human being when money doesn't dictate your emotional happiness and joy. That's why me not having work isn't bothering me so much, because I know I'll be okay. And I always kid around and say, I've been homeless before, I'll be homeless again. I'm fine with it. Like, it bothers other people when I say that, but I'm like, I ain't worried about it. Plus, I know way too many people whose couches I can sleep on. Hello, my friends. Like, but worst case scenario, I mean, if you have people, you have real love, you have real connections in your life, that's wealth.
Yeah. 100%. Agree.
How do you guys feel about billionaires? Any billionaire. Do you want to be a billionaire?
No.
Unless I can constantly give it away.
How do you feel about billionaires? Should there be billionaires?
I mean, if they make it and they earned it, I mean, hey.
Did they make it? Did they earn it?
Some do, some don't. Most of them don't. But, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really know one to even know how I feel about them.
I think I've said this before. I think money doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you a good person. Mm-hmm. It just gives you more choices, but it doesn't make you a wonderful human being. And it doesn't make you able to function better in society. Okay? Money don't buy class either. And I ain't going to diss no one here, but I think we all know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, it does not buy you class. I know people who ain't got nothing and have more class than people who have tons of money. Mm-hmm. So I honestly don't think, here's what I'll say. I don't care if there are billionaires and people have tons of money. Oprah's a billionaire. Mark Cuban's a billionaire. Warren Buffett's a billionaire. These are people who have tons of money that I don't hate. Like, you do you earned your money, do your thing. But there should not be in this world, not even just this country, in this world, people who have no food or a home. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I could exist on the planet knowing that I have so much money and so many people have nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's like Oprah's job to fix the homeless problem, but I'm just saying when you think about it that way, it feels cruel. It feels weird to me.
Yeah, walking right by people that are suffering horribly and you could do something.
Yeah.
I think of Star Trek Next Generation, right? We always talk about that. Cynthia, I'm sorry. You can just stand up, just go over there for a minute. Me and Rick will have this conversation. But in that world, it isn't about money. There's no money happening back and forth. Now, there is still a power structure. There is still, the dynamics that happen. But this idea that I have to pay something to do this or whatever, it's a very different system. So I want people to be as abundant as they want to be or earn or whatever it is, or their family gives them, or like, I can't be mad at people who are born into wealth. I wish I was. Like, I wish I had been born. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that storyline, please. You know what I mean?
Just try it one time.
Exactly. I'd like to do the other kind of struggling. I would like to be a rich person who struggles to try to find happiness. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to do that. Can we do that? We can still have all about the joy. But I think what breaks my heart is the idea that there are so many people in the 1% and so many people that have nothing or struggle so hard to have just a little bit. And to me, that feels off as far as being a good species.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I think it was Next Generation, because Voyager did something similar too. But because remember Captain Picard specifically talked to somebody from.
I can never say Star Trek because then the boy has to talk about an episode. Go ahead, babe. Do your thing.
Picard was talking to somebody, I believe, from the past, and the guy was like, "What do you mean you don't have money? What do you mean you don't buy things?" And he's like, "Oh, that's all passé. We don't do that. Now we just try to find our calling and do something that's going to benefit us and humanity." He was like,
"It's never going to happen in my lifetime."
How? He was just dumbfounded.
That's never, well, because, and that's never going to happen in our lifetime. But imagine, I mean, what would it feel like, right? What would it feel like to not have to work for money, but instead work for your passion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If everybody got to do that.
I mean, imagine that life.
The world would be transformed.
And here's the thing, I love Gary Vee, but Gary Vee will be like, you have to take the risk. You have to, I'm like, bitch, I have to pay rent. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I have to do, okay?
I need to eat at least once a day. You know what I mean? Like, I love him. I think he's great. But this idea that because you don't do that, you don't risk being homeless to try to. And here's the thing: the other day I saw him on some TikTok or whatever, and I didn't realize this, but he's won the lottery twice.
Really? I never knew that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that either. And all of a sudden I was like, and now I'm done with you. Like, give me $100,000. And I think what he won wasn't like millions, although it's never been disclosed because, I tried to Google it. But he admitted to winning one when he was younger, and it was like $3,000. But can you imagine being young and winning? That's like winning $100,000. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But he hasn't disclosed what the other amount is. And I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying everybody who's successful has gotten money or whatever, but you do not become successful by yourself.
Mm.
If you have nothing, you do not make it on your own. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are, because without your fans, without people who want to listen to you or watch you or whatever it is, if people aren't interested in what you're doing, if somebody doesn't have your back when you fail so that you can get up, brush off, and maybe start over, it's really not that easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, even if you're making the most amazing product in the world, who gonna buy it? Somebody's got to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to buy it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to diss other people, but it's like when I heard that, it totally, and I love Gary Vee. I think he's really good at what he does, but I was like, all of a sudden, like, oh my God, of course. Of course you did. Not to mention that he has a good family support. So already I was like, all right, I already feel less than, because I have never had that major family support, because his father is a winemaker, right? And like, that's how he started selling wine. So it's not like he wasn't poor and he wasn't middle class. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
They had money already.
He already had a little bit of money, a little bit, you know what I mean? But I was still like, don't matter. You can't take away from his brilliance, because he didn't make his money from the wine business. So I was like, okay, but now you tripping, telling me you won the lottery? Come on now. I'm out. I love you, but I'm out. I'm so mean.
Jarvis, how much did he make?
I know. No, I already looked it up. He didn't disclose. It hasn't been disclosed. In some states, you don't have to disclose it, Right. And look, I'm not trying to say that takes away anything from him. I'm just saying, like, one of the things I've learned this year about money and myself that I've really come to understand fully and completely is I have done everything I was supposed to do. I haven't missed anything. You know how like people always saying, oh, well, the reason why you haven't made it yet is because you didn't try enough, or you didn't pray enough, or you didn't trust in the Lord enough, or whatever. And I'm like, I've done it all. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you didn't network enough. Maybe I'm like, no, I've done it all. And I think the day it turned for me, this was a couple years ago, though, the day I started realizing I fixed one of my clients' credit report, because I was able to call. I had the time, right? I was being paid to take the time to fix his credit report. It took a long time. But also when he needed to pay some stuff. So he had a really poor credit rating, like, 5 something, maybe close to 600. But yeah, and this is somebody who has millions of dollars, but no one was paying attention. Okay? And so I called, was able to make deals, whatever. And it took me like 2 or 3 days. And because he has money, I was able to pay it off, whatever. And you're also able to get those things scrubbed off so much quicker, especially if you have a lawyer helping you as well. Mm-hmm. So like within a month or two, his credit rating went from being poor to being like 850. I'm like, that's all about money.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of us are all like, what's my FICO score? Can I get a loan? You know what I mean? So we were doing all this to get him a loan. So I helped with the application, whatever. And he was able to get like $1 million loan. I'm like, wait, I've always had a steady, good 700, maybe dipped to like 690 or so. I was like, and now I'm way in like, almost 800. And still, I will apply for a mother effing loan and get denied. And I'm like, can I get $50,000? And they're like, sorry, here are all the factors. I'm like, just say I'm Paul and I'm black and I'm a woman. Just say it.
Like,
But I'm here.
$100.
But that's when I started to understand it's a whole racket. It's a whole racket. If you're poor, you're less likely to get a break. And that don't matter what color skin you are. I think this has kind of been a kind of fun conversation, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about money or whatever. But let me ask you just one last two questions. Do you guys loan people money? Cynthia loaned me money before. It was like $10,000, right?
It was not that much.
Oh wait, I'm laughing. Right, every time I tell the story, it's like she lent me like $100,000. I forget how much it was.
Dude,
At
$2,000.
Wait, at the time though, it felt like $10,000. It was like I was so sad and desperate. I was like, right, but every time I tell the story, it's more money.
She made fun of me, right? Because she's like, "Can I just borrow 1,000?" I was like, "Is that all you need? Like, do you need more?" And she's like, "Well, what? How much do you have?"
I was like, how much mother effing money do you have? Yeah. But here's the difference, though. In all fairness, I paid you right away. I paid you back. I did it in lump sums, but I paid you back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's different. If people ask me to loan the money, it's hard. I've done it. Rick knows I've done it a couple times, and now I'm not doing it to other people. Don't ask me for money. Let me just look right into the camera. Do not ask me. I don't have any money. I know you think I do. I don't have no money, okay? I don't loan money to people.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Don't only show up for me when you need that money.
Oh,
Say it again.
Don't
say it
only
again for the people in the
show up for
back.
me when you need the money. Where are you when you don't need the money?
Oh, drop that. Oh, drop the mic. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing, right? It's kind of like, I believe that if people need money, I'll offer it and I'll give it to them or whatever. If I have it, I'll give it. But loaning money is a touchy one because you're never going to get it back. It's rare if people get it back. I don't know about Cynthia, but I have the reason why I learned this lesson, because in the past people would ask me for money, especially when I was working at the company I was working at and making my buku money or whatever. And people turned around and, oh, I'm going to pay you back. And then they wouldn't. And I was like, I didn't need the money back then. But don't tell me you're going to pay me back when you're not gonna, when you don't have it. You can't make that promise. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So if I'm going to give people money, I just give it. I don't do loans.
Yeah, I don't know how you can walk around knowing you owe somebody money and just be okay with it. Like, because remember my cousin let me borrow money, and it took me years to pay her back. And I'm like, but every time I saw her, I'm like, I felt bad just being in her presence, knowing I owe her money.
Okay, but that is an emotional attachment to money, because I'm sure she wasn't making you feel that way.
No, but I felt bad.
I did the same thing to Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia, how you doing? I'm working on it. I'm gonna pay you back. She'd be like, what are you talking about? She wouldn't even know what I was talking about. That's our emotional attachment to money, because we think we're being defined by not paying somebody back, or by having borrowed it, or by having some loan out. You know what I mean? It's an interesting thing, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's just talk about the last part. If money didn't define your worth, what would? I know money doesn't define your worth, but it does in a societal sense. So what do you think would be a better way? My beauty?
Someone's
I'm going to say
Carmen.
my conviction. Oh, your kindness. Okay. Kindness. Cynthia's very kind. Rick, what did you say?
I was going to say, do you make, and it doesn't have to be big, but do you make the world a better place? Even if it's a small thing, even if you can help a small amount of people, it's better than doing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
But there was some kind of quote where somebody said, I can't give it. I need the whole ocean to help people. And they said, yeah, but can you go and get a cup and help that one person that needs it?
That's right. I think for me, it's conviction. I want to be who I am, no matter what, no matter the situation, all the time, every day, no matter what's happening to me financially. I'm going to try anyways. We'll see. I don't always hold up very well, but we'll see what happens in the next month or so. let's see how good I feel that. You know what I mean? So, but
all about the joy and black. Listen. We're enjoying that
job. I know.
We're
I need to work.
We're changing the name to All About the Sponsorships.
All right. Have you people not enjoyed my Substack and given me some money? No. There's a coffee link in aatjoy.com. Buy me a coffee. Right? I'm going to be all like, you can't even watch the show. People going to be like, Carmen is through. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation. I think it was kind of light and fun and a different take and not, what we always do. Like, let's talk about budgets. Let's talk about, it's just kind of like, how do we feel about money and who can we be? Who are we? Where'd we come from with all this money stuff? And I hope it helps other people to start talking about money in their own lives too, or even just reconsidering it, not having an emotional attachment to money, not defining yourself by money, and just feeling good about who you are no matter the circumstance. I think that's the goal. So
we all have to deal with it. I don't care if you Democrat, Republican, if you white or black, you still got to deal with money.
Yep.
Wish we didn't. Wish billionaires would help other people, but whatever. That's just me. But anyways, everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. And remember, we are always on Friday nights at our Friday Night Lives, and anyone can join and hang out. And that's Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks again. Bye, everyone. And remember, at the end of the day, it really is all about the joy. Bye. Bye. Thanks for stopping by All About the Joy. Be better and stay beautiful, folks. Have a sweet day.